Welcome to Between Season, a podcast for leaders in transition of what was and what is next. With me today, again, I have the pleasure of having Dr. Rotimi, who is a visionary, an author, entrepreneur, minister, as well a coach. Currently, he has books out on Amazon. One is Queen Esther. Another one, as you can see in my background here, Mastering High Stake Transition. Links to the books will be provided in the description below. Dr. Rotimi, it is a pleasure to have you again on the podcast.
Thank you, Melville.
How are you feeling today, sir?
Fantastic. You?
I'm pretty excited, honestly. I'm pretty excited. So without further ado, without wasting any time, let's jump right into it.
Sure.
So before we get into your framework and methodology, I wanted to start with something personal. Have you ever lived through one of these seasons yourself? A time where you felt invisible, overlooked, or like life was moving forward for everyone else except for you? What was that like?
Oh, wow. There's a number of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say yes to some of them.
Okay.
Like the time of silence, the time of, a kind of a doubt about the identity issue, identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I planned my transition. The first day, maybe in the early days of my banking career, I knew exactly when I was going to exit. I set the time that I was going to exit at 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I did so exactly at 15.
Mm.
So I anticipated I was going to leave like year 10, 11, 12. So my mind was prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no surprises. That's number one. Number two, the exit or the transition was not imposed on me. I anticipated it. Mm-hmm. I expected it. I planned for it. Mm-hmm. So it was self-imposed. Mm-hmm. So that said, it means that even though this silence, they were all with a purpose. So I understand why I was doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. The time of that was not as structured as it used to be when I was in the bank, mm-hmm. but I knew what to expect. I knew there was going to be learning curve. I knew there was going to be teething problems. I knew all those. Mm-hmm. And I was just a competition to myself. I wasn't really thinking about other people going ahead of me. No, I wasn't really thinking of that.
Because think like most entrepreneurs, the first month or the first year, didn't you not at all, like you're looking at your peers, you're like, okay, I'm in a transportation business. Was there ever a moment you're looking at your peers, you're like, man, their business seems to be booming, there seems to be like progressing, and you look at yourself and like, well, I remember you had mentioned in our first episode that the first week it was very quiet. At any moment within, I'm like, oh man, did I make the right choice? Maybe this was a bad idea. I mean, I was making good money where I was. None of that was happening in your mind at all?
Well, there are flow of thoughts, mm-hmm. but you need to put all those in perspective.
I see.
For example, I wasn't in a situation where I was forced into transition. Mm. And again, as a banker, I worked as a corporate banker. So I'd been in a business of supporting entrepreneurs. That's all I do. Yeah. So I understand the cycles of business. I understand the learning curves. I understand the teething problems. So I know those times would come. Mm-hmm. And the strategy is for you to, understand the timing and know exactly what to do. Mm-hmm. And if you prepare, then you'll be able to navigate the twist and the turns. Mm-hmm. But the key point is that, there are moments of kind of, shall I say, doubt that you wanted to see, okay, things are not moving as fast, as smooth as you would have preferred. Mm-hmm. But then I do understand there's always a difference between reality and the conceptual state of business when you're just concepting ideas. Mm-hmm. So I do understand that because of my experience. So when I saw those, yes, I had that feeling sometime, but I understand it's just one of those things that I have to pass through. Mm-hmm. And that was the way I embraced it.
I see.
Right.
I see. So here you've worked with some incredible, accomplished people in your life, executive, entrepreneurs, faith leaders. So what's the one thing that always surprises people when they realize they need coaching?
Well, I think sometimes is when you've tried everything you know and you've not gotten the result you desire. And where you've done the investment, at least you will have learned. Anybody that goes into any business, you have an idea of what you want to do. But like Mike Tyson says, is that in boxing, everybody has an idea until you get a punch in the face.
Exactly.
So that is where you know whether your idea works or not. So I think when people might have tried all they know and they didn't get the results that they anticipated, then that is when they realize that they need help. So needing a coach is always like needing help or mentorship, somebody that can unhold you, somebody that has done what you're trying to do. One of the things about life is everything, the situation you find yourself, whatever situation you find yourself, is some people's experience. So some people must have gone through it before. And typically, once you get to that point where you know, when I've tried everything, but I still knew this is what I should do. When you have that conviction that this is what I should do, then you know, okay, let me just look around for people who know how to navigate this and seek for help. Right.
And one of the things that I've learned through you is there's no need for you to reinvent the wheel. Because sometimes some people think I'm going to be the one person that I can reinvent it, and then you're just hitting the wall over and over, which leads me to my next question. So there's a particular kind of tire that comes from trying hard and repeatedly hitting the wall. It's not physical, it's a spiritual and emotional. So how do you coach someone through that without just giving them more motivation? Because one thing that I don't like about not all coaching, but the coaching world is a lot of them is just motivational speeches. You can do it, positive thinking. And after I've hit a wall 1,000 times, positive thinking is no longer what I'm thinking about, right? So in that situation, how do you advise and coach somebody without just telling them positive thinking? What's your approach for people that have hit the wall over and over and over again?
In addition to that's a very critical question. In addition to the book Mastering High Stakes Transitions, I wrote another ebook. That's Clarity Before Courage.
Okay.
So in that book, the thesis is before you make a move, you need to understand how do I get to where I'm at? Where am I at as into different kind of areas of your life. So in terms of looking at the resources, what you would need in order to succeed in your new venture. And the question is, motivation can only lead you so far. Is when the rubber meets the road, when you see the reality, at that point, you need to be pragmatic. You need to be realistic to understand exactly what is the market looking for. What does value mean to your prospects, to your clients, to your would-be clients. So you need to understand the reality. Now, after you might have tried things and things that didn't work, is when things don't work, it's not like markets didn't like you. When things don't work, is a feedback.
Okay.
So how you react to the feedback will determine what you're going to do next. But the key thing is that for you to work based on reality, based on data, and when you try to capture in a kind of assessment of where you are at, what have you done, what do you need to do, what are the expectations of the market, then you bring alignment between what you can do in terms of resources and the need that the market or what constitutes value to the market.
I see. So you work at the intersection of mindset, emotion, and performance. In your personal experience, what's the most common internal state that quietly destroys people's decision making, and most of them don't even know it's happening?
Emotion, I would say.
Emotion.
Correct. It's emotion. Let's look at different scenario. If you look at most people, you graduate. That's the way it happens to most people.
Okay.
You graduate school and you pick the first job due to different kind of reasons, probably economic pressure or social pressure. You have loan to pay, you have bills to pay, and things like that. And then you get into the job, then your responsibility ballooned, your bills ballooned. Then you discover that you're just living from pockets to the market. And when you do that, you know within yourself that what you're doing isn't taking you anywhere. And you know there's something out there that is bigger than what you are doing at the point. But the fear of creating a kind of a gap between the certain and the uncertain. So if you try to work out of a job, you don't know when next you're going to get another job. And that fear is what sometimes you bottle up that can affect your performance and the way you view things. And let me tell you this. If the only time you are happy in the place of work you are at the moment is when your pay hits your account, that's not a place for you. No, all the time you bottle it, you know you are working in an environment that probably does not value your skill sets or the value you create. And you always say, I can do better. And sometimes there can be an overflow of that. I just go, let me do this. And you just want to try something. Let me try something as a side also. Let me try something, to make more money or something like that. But when we make decisions based on emotions, like maybe you are afraid or you are angry, maybe you think you're not valued, or maybe you're not well rewarded. When you do that, in most cases, before 12 months to 18 months, there's going to be complications. Because you do not really try to evaluate your situation, better to understand your reality before you make a move to create another reality. Because your reality is what determines what you'll be able to do afterwards. So, but when you are beclouded by fear, anxiety, or sometimes anger, where you feel like you're not treated well, it just put in your paper. And every other thing you assume, I have a lot of friends, I have social skills, I know I'll be able to always succeed when I get out of here. In most cases, when you do not do a proper evaluation, there's always going to be a gap.
So often people say, do what makes you happy, which is also part of the emotion. So you would not tell people, hey, don't do what makes you happy. First, assess the situation, be more realistic before you make that leap. Even if you're thinking that this decision is going to make me happy, I'm going to be passionate about my position, you're telling them don't be led by passion, be led by logic, or am I getting that wrong?
It's a combination of things. Happiness is a function of events, happenings. And you sometimes you cannot sustain it. So when you take action that makes you happy, how many times you take actions that you're happy about and you have buyer's remorse? No. When you are making a move that does not only depend on you, depend on so many variables over which you do not have control. So what makes you happy might not be something that makes someone else happy. So that cannot be the only dimension that you use to judge a move. You need to understand, why am I happy? Are you happy? Are you happy because you are living a difficult boss? Are you happy because you are living a job you don't enjoy? Are you happy simply because you are doing a job that you don't have to wake up early again? What's the thing that is making you happy? Are you happy because you are avoiding responsibility? So you need to try to drill a little bit and understand. So you want to know exactly if you want to move. Why do I want to move? Where am I at now? What am I capable of doing? What are the values that I can create? And given the situation or circumstance where I'm at now and the proposed situation where I'm intending to move to, will I be able to create value as I do here in the other place where you're going? So you need to look at all the variables before you move. So understanding the variable, not rushing into things, emotionally particularly, is very critical before you make a move.
I see. No. So now the thing about transitions, they are often deeply lonely, right? Because as you say, a lot of it is internal to yourself. So people feel embarrassed to ask for help or even to reach out. How do you coach somebody to build relational capital when their confidence is already low? Let's say that this person just lost their job and the title was something that they held on to so strongly. Now they're going through this transition. They feel so embarrassed. I was this big guy walking around. Now I feel like a nobody. I could reach out, but there's that sense of shame, that sense of like, I'm no longer significant. So how do you help that person build their confidence back up from where they dropped it?
Well, one of the key things that you need to really understand in the process of transitioning is your identity. And one of the things we help with is to understand that your identity has nothing to do with your career. It has nothing to do with your career. So what does that mean? When you're exiting a work, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Nothing, to be ashamed about talking to people about. Except in a situation if you leave as a result of non-performance or wrongdoing. But if it's not due to non-performance or wrongdoing, then if you have to leave, let's say, for different kind of reasons, probably a change in strategy, a change in ownership, change in technology, or sometimes probably office politics that you just don't want to do anymore, or in a situation where you are asked to compromise, and you wouldn't want to compromise your value. So when you have to live in such circumstances, you need to really take a step back and look at yourself. At the point when you were given that job, you were the best. You were not the only person that was evaluated. If you have been kept for many years, that means that you delivered value. So when you look at those two things, like when I came in as a winner. When I stayed, it's because I created value. There's something valuable about me that made the organization to keep me. And in the process of doing that, you will have learned some things. You will have had good relationship. And when you have that, you should be positive about yourself. And that is the key thing. When you have clarity about where you are at, the journey, when you look at the dimensions of, let's say, for instance, if there's something that is called tacit knowledge. You have tacit knowledge, then you have explicit knowledge. And anytime you are living, you must have a combination of both. The things that when you look at them, you know the solution to them, just right off. And that is your tacit knowledge. Things you have learned over time. Things you have learned over time that you can transform or transfer into the new place where you're going. And now, at the same time, if you have survived in a place for years, that means that you can learn over time. Meaning that the explicit knowledge that can be recorded, you can study those and learn from other people. That you need to begin to look inward and see, okay, what made me the best when I was given this job? What made me the best for the role that made them to keep me for as long? So why am I living? Then in that case, you know that no, this event is not my fault. So you see yourself clearly and separate your identity from the role, the career, or the title. So when you are able to do that, it becomes easier for you to see clear-eyed. So you can see clearly, well, this is not my problem. There could be some challenges, cash flow, etc.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just know with your shoulder high, there's still value that you can give in other places that you know somebody's going to reward.
Now, one of the tools that you have, which is the assessment, how do you go about using, how can people go about using that to get a better understanding about their value, what they can bring to the market? Because as you said, it's easier for some people, it's easier said than done to understand their value, because their value is that position, it's that role, it's that title. So walk me through the tools, if you can, with the time that we have, how people can get an understanding about themselves using the assessment tool that you have.
Just as an overview, it's just like, when you are trying to assess a situation, it's a science. It's not hard. Meaning that you have to deal with numbers. It's just like if you are going to evaluate a business, you have documents like income statement, balance sheet, etc. And you have professionals that will look at the data, sales, expenditure, whatever you want to look at, and then put the numbers together. So in this case, it's just like that. And the key thing that showed is when you're doing the evaluation, it is not one-dimensional. It's a number of dimensions. But in this evaluation system, the framework, we look at 5 different domains. Okay. And by the time you look at those domains, they are all together. They're self-sustaining. So all those domains, we give you a clear indication of where you are at in each of those domains of skill, of network, of resources, of ideas, and of energy. Now, by the time you look at those, you'll be able to understand going forward what is possible. Then when you see that very clearly, you begin to really see value in yourself. Oh yeah, I have this. Oh yeah, I can do this. Because that process of writing those things down and thinking through it helps you to see yourself in a different light. Because when you are, for example, if you are exited in a company, the things are, oh, they don't need me anymore. I'm not worthy of anything. Those thoughts can really depress, can bring someone down. But when you really take time, that what you have done over time, the contribution that you have made over time, the solution, the value that you have created, solution you have made, people you have trained. When you look at those and try to put it together, you understand, oh, okay, I have what it takes to take on the future. And at that point, you can now zoom in on the idea of what's the next move, have clarity on what you're going to do.
Now, for some people who, let's say they have gone through the transition, so the position is gone, the title is gone, and they're doing their best to reevaluate their abilities, to their capacities, and they're assessing themselves in terms of value. But the season is still, they feel like, okay, I'm still in transition. Nothing is changing. I'm trying to trying to stay positive. I'm trying to keep myself occupied. So how does a person, there's a fear underneath a lot of people that you work with. So what if they start thinking, what if this season never ends? How do you hold space for that fear without dismissing it and then help someone move through it? Because I've lost this position. Okay, a month has passed. I'm still here. 2 months has passed. I'm still here. Okay, what's going on? How do you coach somebody that is going through that process right now?
Well, that's a good question. No case will be the same. Everyone will be on case-by-case basis. But the first thing is to make you look inward, to see yourself. When you see yourself, the reality about you, there's always an opportunity that's a match for that reality. So when you understand your reality, where you stand, that the next thing is begin to look for the opportunity, to do the opportunity mapping. It is not the same opportunity that is applicable to everybody. So but when you understand yourself better, then you'll be able to know the fitness or the kind of opportunity that will be a good fit for you. So not everybody will be able to go into or transition into entrepreneurship. Not everybody will be able to transition into a better job. Sometimes you want to have a clear intent. It's like, where do I go from here? But knowing yourself determines the kind of opportunity you begin to look for. So for such people, probably they're looking for wrong opportunities. Probably they're looking into wrong places. But when you are true to yourself, that you understand where you stand, it helps you to know exactly where to look to, to find opportunities. And sometimes it might be, the next opportunity might be maybe to take a certification. One of the things that you see in a framework, we call it the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah, so is that the wrong way? So people, when they are transitioning, probably the skill that they have relied on is no longer useful in the market. And for such people, you have the kind of jobs that can give you wrong way. You go back for certification. Probably you are doing something like Uber around that period of time. Or probably you take on something that is not as something you enjoyed like you were doing before. Then you know you are doing some things temporarily until you get the enhancement of your skills, particularly if there's a shortage in skills.
So it's like basically for a person like that, if I'm getting it, it's like you have to be resourceful in that moment.
Exactly.
I see.
You must be resourceful, and being resourceful using the resource, the resource you have to deal with the situation you have at hand, even though probably the resource you thought you have is not even big enough. So by trying to understand that the reality is something that is constant, it's not changing. And now, if you really want to explore opportunity elsewhere, then you need to do something about the reality. Maybe in skills, maybe in networking, maybe in resources, and maybe in idea or energy. So you need to understand that. That will tell you the kind of opportunities you explore.
It's basically you gotta be resourceful and have to have what's it called?
You must be open-minded.
Yes,
you must be open-minded. You must be ready to unlearn, to relearn. You must be ready to learn. You must be ready to act. And you must be malleable, flexible. It's not like, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do.
Like, do you ever see that people, like, let's say they lose a particular title and then they waste time trying to get the same title again?
No, that happens all the time.
I see.
That happens all the time. And sometimes you might need to lower the expectation, rebuild, and get back to something higher. So you need to understand your situation vis-a-vis the market.
I see.
So you must hear whatever the market is telling you. So you have to be pragmatic, not just based on assumptions.
I see. Now, once I've heard you use the language of formation versus failure. So when it comes to seasons of obscurity, can you break that down first? Because I think a lot of listeners hear that and want it to be true, but they don't quite believe it yet, meaning formation versus failure.
Yeah. Failure sounds terminal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Failure is terminal.
Yeah.
So when you see yourself as a failure or you feel failed, that is terminal, meaning that you've done everything and there's nothing more I can do. I throw up the towel. That's failure. Formation is a process. And what that tells you that you are going through a process. What that leaves with you is that there's hope. I'm going somewhere. I'm not there yet, but I'm making progress. So there are two different things. So at that time, you are not stopped. You're still looking at something ahead. You are learning, you are gaining, you are understanding. So that's the difference between formation and failure. But when you see failure is terminal, formation is not.
I see. So what does being ready actually look like? Not just skill-wise, but identity-wise, emotionally, relationally. What's the full picture of a person who's truly prepared for the next level?
I will answer that question based on the framework.
Okay.
And being ready means technically that you score minimum 7 upward in all the 5 domains. So minimum would be like 6 in all the 5 domains. And those 5 domains, like I said before, they are skills, network, resources, idea, and energy. Now, when you score minimum of 7 in those 5 domains, that tells you that technically you are ready. And why would we say that? Because when you are trying to do the assessment, you have to populate the numbers with a high level of awareness. Because there are so many questions that you will need to provide answers to. So if you do that the way it should be done, now the report you will get at the end of the day will tell whether we are ready or not. And how do we know that? Because that will put you into 5 buckets of profiles. So each of the profiles will tell us where you are strong and where there's weakness. It tells us that in the area of weakness, is something that can be fixed, and it is something that what do we need to fix it. So those are the things that you will see after the evaluation. Then we'll be able to know what exactly to do.
Yeah. So when a person scores 7 and you're like, okay, you're ready to go, what happens next? Do you just leave them? It's okay, you have the right resources and all the domains, you scored 7. Here you go, here's paperwork. Good luck, God bless. Or do you still work with the person? Is this okay? I'm still with them month 1, month 2, month 3. Walk us through that process.
Well, there are different options. There are do-it-yourself option. You go through training and then you do it yourself. And there are options that, again, we can provide support.
Okay.
Then the kind of support we have a Facebook group community where you can ask questions amongst other people who had gone through similar situations. Then again, there's opportunity to do it with you, which is the coaching, that we can walk through this together. And there's a framework that we do it step by step to see. The first thing is to determine where you're going. Are you moving from a job to a better job? Or are you leaving the 5-9 and you're going to entrepreneurship? So it's something that we need to decipher. We need to understand. We need to articulate, then know the next thing to do. Then once we understand that, there are always step by step of what to do, to transition into the next stage. The goal is to move people from point A to point B. From the point where people had lost their mojo, I should say, or they have lost probably their confidence on the beginning to do everything, and to move into a place where you are at the right place, and then you are enthusiastic to move forward.
I see.
Right.
Based on your personal experience, what is your best recommendation? Do you tell people, hey, do it yourself is the best option, or do you believe like you being there with them every step of the way ensures a lot better success for them for whatever the goal that they're pursuing, whether it's becoming an entrepreneur or performing better at their position that they're currently at, or transitioning into a new position?
The point is that people are smart.
Yeah.
People's circumstances will never be the same.
I see.
So in terms of resources, availability, and desire to go through the process.
I see.
So the coaching will not be for everyone. The people who's got the time, the attitude, and the resources to get it done. And because it comes with investment.
Yeah.
So, but in my own case, it gives you assurance that you're dealing with someone who'd lived the process. And that will shorten the journey. That will help to shorten the journey. So that comes with disorienting, but it's a place where you need to release yourself for aggressive learning. That's where you need to empty everything you've known about what you think you know and be willing to learn and to progress into the next stage. So it's neither here nor there. Some people can handle it, just do it yourself. And some people may not be able to do it, not because they can't, but maybe they're not available or they just don't have the kind of resources to invest. And either way, we can always provide guidance. You can always go to our website. You will always see resources. You will always see articles and different kind of things that will help. So we ensure that our website is always, active, proactive, and just feed people with what they need, to move from point A to point B to help them transition.
I see. Well, Dr. Rotimi, that is all the time that I have for us today. As you guys have followed, this is a man that has gone through it. I know he's being very generous with his words, but I would highly recommend that if you are in a transition right now and you're looking for guidance, you're looking for a way out, you're looking for that light, here we have a coach with us. He's an entrepreneur. He's a coach. He's an author, a minister. So he covers different aspects of what you're trying to accomplish yourself. So if you can't get a hold of him as a coach, again, he has books out currently. We'll have them in a link in the description below. One of these latest one that he has is Mastering High Stakes Transition. Highly, highly recommend that you check it out. And we thank you guys for joining us for this episode, and we look forward to seeing you to the on the next one. And with that, Dr. Rotimi, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, my dear. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.